Everyone always asks what you would do for $1 billion. What would you not do for $1 billion? Story 1. I wouldn't sell body parts, not even for $1 billion. At least not mine, lol. Since I do not have but urgently need money, there is not much I would not do even for $1 million USD. As long as I won't be sent to jail. Edit, please stop mailing me. I am not a contract killer. Story 2. I think anything truly depraved, like murder fucking my family or children. I would hit a kid for $1 billion. With that amount of cash, I could give them 10 million as compensation. I would say, I'm sorry I hurt you, but I am not sorry I did it, because we got a lot of money. Raping anyone, especially children or anything sexual with children, is strictly off the table. Same with prolonged torture or simply anything that could traumatize them badly in the same vein as rape, so no breaking bones or extremely painful stuff. I would torture a very specific set of individuals, especially if I can get information from them on where they are hiding the money they stole from my country and all the crimes they are involved in. Especially, I would ask for plans and countermeasures in place so that I could topple my current country's dictatorship. I would not do anything that has a high chance of me dying in the spot. So Russian roulette with 5 bullets would be stupid. Russian roulette with 1 bullet. I could take those chances, especially if it's just one trigger pull, and it is I who is loading the gun. Story 3. Kill a perfectly healthy cat or dog or any animal. I realize there are no doubt hunters reading this thinking I'm nuts. I respect that. I am equally astonished at how you're able to murder innocent animals for fun. But I don't judge you for our differences. I am well aware that I am probably in the minority of humans on this topic. Story 4. Anything that would compromise my moral values. Hurting others, becoming greedy, etc., etc. If I had $1 billion, I'd keep enough to live comfortably and give away the rest. UTF am I going to do with $1 billion? Story 5. Oh, there are definitely a few things I wouldn't do for $1 billion. While money can be tempting, there are limits to what I would consider. For example, I wouldn't harm or endanger anyone else's life for any amount of money. I also wouldn't compromise my integrity, betray my loved ones, or engage in illegal activities. Some things are simply too precious to trade for any sum of money. Now, what about you? What is something you wouldn't do for $1 billion? Story 6. Any extermination event that would have a noticeable global impact. Kill a dude? Name him. Kill a family. I can pay for therapy. Genocide a race, a religion, the entirety of a major corporation. Yeah, I'm out. Create a killer AI that would wipe out all life. Nope, off myself. Wouldn't unalive for $1 billion either. So basically, as long as I'm not going full terrorist or full Hitler, I'm probably in. Story 7. I guess I'm a nerd about this stuff, but I will immediately ask for clarification on the hypothetical and why somebody is paying me so much money to do something that random and what legal steps are being taken to guarantee payment. Might seem nitpicky, but in reality, understanding why somebody would pay such a large amount of something will affect my answers. Story 8. I'd pretty much draw the line at physically or mentally harming any other person, cruelty to animals, or irreparable self-harm to myself. The list of stuff I'd do to myself is fairly high. $1 billion buys me any lifestyle I'd want pretty much anywhere in the world. Pick myself up, buy a nice house anywhere, live on interest, and set up some kind of a charity to keep myself busy and benefit humanity. Story 9. Most things that I wouldn't do in general. Seriously harm innocent people. I'll give them a good noggin smack, though. Seriously harm myself. Assassinate public figures, etc. I am fully aware of how much $1 billion is. In fact, I ask people to really do the math before they criticize me. I'm fully aware it's more money than I could ever use. Still, money isn't everything. I still have to live with myself and avoid jail. Story 10. What it takes to actually become a billionaire, honestly. Unless inherited or winning the lottery, people don't generally become billionaires without working insane hours for years at a time and completely intertwining their work and personal lives. I don't want to do that. Story 11. I would not exploit countless people and their families, especially if they're the very people working to make my wealth. I would not cripple the progress of my species. I would not hobble entire generations. I would not destroy the environment in the long term for short-term gains of any kind. Simply, I would not gain from hurt, and $1 billion of value has to come from somewhere. For anyone to hold so much value, you need theft and exploitation. Access to $1 billion of community funds to enact social programs and community benefits? Yes, please, I would do that. Story 12. Well, I wouldn't hurt anybody that didn't deserve to be hurt at all ever. Nor would I hurt a puppy or a kitten or an old lady, 'cause I'd never do that. Wow. OMG, y'all are a bunch of bozos and goofballs if you really think that 99% of you wouldn't Bautista bomb Granny Shirley at the drop of a band, singular, let alone 1 billion? 1 billion? Only thing I wouldn't do is give it away. Are you insane? You're right. I'm not slapboxing the orphan. I'm taking on the whole orphanage. Kicking Auntie Anne? I'm a axe drop the entire senior community. Ethics schmethics. We can cry in the private jet afterward on our way to the bank vault. Story 13. I was going to say I wouldn't kill someone, but actually I wouldn't kill anyone other than my uncle. My uncle was a wonderful, sweet, gentle man. He still is, but he had a massive stroke 5 years ago, and he's slowly losing more and more of himself, while my aunt and cousins are trapped in limbo and hemorrhaging money for care home bills. Story 14. I'd do pretty much anything short of sex crimes or crimes involving children in any capacity. Other than that, however, with $1 billion, you can pretty much weasel your way out of most trouble. There are a few random things I wouldn't do, but honestly, most things are on the menu. I guess that's why people say the love of money is the root of all evil. Story 15. Murder, rape, and anything that requires hurting someone or coercing someone into doing something against their will. That is certainly a line in the sand. I also would probably avoid doing permanent self-harm. I wouldn't get a sex change or anything particularly permanent, tattoos being an exception. I wouldn't harm an animal either. I consider that in the same above statement of hurting or forcing. Otherwise, there isn't much of anything I wouldn't do. Story 16. Had this conversation decades ago in a dorm at UGA. Would you suck a dick for $1 billion? I couldn't believe how many guys said no, with homophobic platitudes about integrity. One guy pipes up, "For $1 billion, I'd suck a motherfucker off midfield during a football game." Story 17. Lots of stuff. There are sacrifices I wouldn't make, like my current happy life with my wife and doggies, and soon our baby. I also wouldn't necessarily take any job for $1 billion. Getting more money helps with a lot, but it wouldn't suffice if the job that earns me the money makes me unhappy. Story 18. I would not do anything to harm anyone unless it were minor, a pinch, a slap, a noogie, and consensual. I'm not a vegetarian, but I would extend this to even animals, food or wild, and pets. That's because this world needs less suffering, not more. Every time I looked at that $1 billion, I would think, I spanked a chicken for this, and I would live in shame forever for spanking the chicken. I just can't. Story 19. A lot of people are saying that $1 billion wouldn't motivate them to hurt friends, family, children, or animals. I feel like they would change their tune pretty damn quick for $1 billion. I, for one, would sell my entire soul for that kind of money. I would do anything, as long as it didn't cause my death at a point in time too soon to have a child. And even then, I'd consider it. I do have family and friends that could use even a fraction of it. Story 20 shortlist for $1 billion. Anything that can psychologically, physically harm a child or get me or a loved one killed. And honestly, if it resulted in my death in a quick manner, I would probably still go for it. That kind of money is generational if allocated wisely. Only reason I would be iffy on that is that I know my mom wouldn't trade me for $1 billion. Story 21. I wouldn't give up my vision. Nothing against visually impaired folks. It's just that as a sighted person, IDKWTF, I would do with money that doesn't require eyesight. Fancy cars, homes, women, etc. All must be seen to be enjoyed proper. I saw a Pepsi commercial featuring Ray Charles back in the day, and it made me wonder what rich blind guys spend their money on. Family and friends, I guess. And really great food. Story 22. Realistically, very little, provided I can at least get the money to my family. $1 billion is an absurd amount that would find all my relations as safe and sound as possible for likely all the generations to come. Get homes and debts paid off, set aside a fund for education purposes, buy a couple apartment buildings or condo buildings for a first home for the kids, grandkids as they grow up. Invest the rest and provide everyone with a minimal stipend. Ensure all needs are met, and let them do as they will. If someone wants to live in the apartment forever and play games, that's fine. If they want to be a carpenter, that's great. If they want to start a business, go for it. I'm not the nicest, but I love my family dearly. I'd genocide a country for the money, probably kill myself from guilt afterwards, but I'd do it. I grew up watching medical care be pushed off because there wasn't money. My grandfather killed himself after a cancer diagnosis made him do some math and discover that treatment would have wiped him retirement. So he killed himself to ensure my grandma could keep going. Frankly, the moral stances I'm seeing in a lot of these posts strike me as coming from folks who spent the first week of the month in the dark because food was a higher priority than lights, never had a parent stitch themselves up, instead of being able to afford an ER trip. One of the few times I saw my dad cry, but dousing a giant cut with rubbing alcohol probably helped. Hell, I remember when I got a bed and quit sleeping on a pile of blankets. Things could have been much worse, but there's very little I can think of that I wouldn't do to make sure nobody has to deal with shit like that again. Story 23. Basically anything involving children is a no-go for me, outside of maybe a slap, but I think that is even going a bit far. Or anything involving the kidnapping and imprisonment of people, and nothing which would cause egregious harm to my friends or family. Or anything which restricts my freedom, like I am not going to jail for life but also have $1 billion. But other than that, I don't think I have much I wouldn't do for $1 billion. Story 24. Other than obvious stuff like murder, sexual harassment, etc., any kind of harm that's beyond superficial and temporary sabotage anyone's source of family income. Any harm to children? Anything involving noise around a hospital or retirement home. Wouldn't start fireworks near a hospital for $1 billion. Eat, lick anything that can make me sick. Lots of other things, but I'll stop there, LOL. Story 25. Be a lab rat for transhumanism or bioengineering. Like those fictional stories about changing or adding a body part to a human. Like replacing the legs with a kangaroo's to improve running speed, adding a tail to add balance, putting microchips in the brain to develop next-level consciousness and intelligence, etc. I would never do that even for an endless supply of money. Story 26. The funny thing is that statistically, to get $1 billion, you commit so much unfair exploitation of the people who generate that wealth for you, you can assume that multiple people have died from health consequences or suicide linked to their work to get you that billion. But if you say, I'd kill a few people for $1 billion, people are shocked and repulsed, even though every billionaire stochastically has killed a few people, or even a lot of people if you happen to own a resource mining operation of any kind. Story 27. I would not do a somersault across a swimming pools filled with 15 buff-ass kangaroos ready to pound anything at sight, with a bicycle, and then have to evade the floor as lava-type shit, except it's actually lava, because the narcos have money to do that. Then after finishing that, have to fight every single individual kangaroo, and beat them all. Then having to run a marathon after that across Squidward-infested waters that will keep telling you to listen to his horrible-sounding ass clarinet. You actually get to hear episodes as you further on, as if the more you progress the more recent the episodes become, then come back again so you gotta hear the same shit, but are going back to the past of SpongeBob episodes which are Phi ASF. I would not do that for $1 billion. I would not. Story 28. For all the people telling that they cannot hurt an innocent person, in the event of that offer becoming true, please feel free to hurt me, an innocent person who is broke, and give me 10%. If you need to kill me, just give it to my family. For some reason, against all the odds, I is still broke, so that kind of offer would be a win-win. Story 29. Probably the only thing I wouldn't do is kill a family member. Pretty much anything else, I think I can live with myself. Even if it ended up sending me to jail, at least my family would be taken care of for the rest of their lives. Realistically, I think even some sort of self-sacrifice might be in the talks, too. Like, suppose I'm in some sort of weird movie that says, we need you to set off this nuke, but you're not going to make it out. But as a thank you, we'll take care of your family for the rest of their lives, for the rest of your grandchildren's lives. I'd probably do it. Story 30. Kill or severely and permanently harm another person without their consent. Destroy large parts of the environment. Think cutting down the Amazon, killing the fish in the ocean, melting the ice caps. Anything that would result in my death in less than 10 years. Anything that would hurt my cat. Story 31. For fun, I want to rules lawyer this as much as I can. You didn't say it had to be the border with South Korea, just the North Korean border. I choose the North Korean border with China. It is 880 miles long, and mostly follows the Yalu and Tumen rivers through mountainous and forested wilderness. The border security there is not at all like the DMZ between North and South Korea. It's more like a normal country border. I'd fly to China and get an entry visa that allows me to hang out in China as a tourist. Then I'd buy hiking supplies and an inflatable kayak. I'd hike a little ways off some road. At a secluded, calm part of the river, I'd inflate the kayak and paddle across the river. Then, I'd stand on the North Korean shore, wave at you and say, I'm technically trespassing in North Korea, and then paddle back across, get in my car, and go back to my hotel in China to await my check for $1 billion.